5, 6, 7, 8. All right, so I'll call out a couple numbers, and you tell me what your view is, and we'll go from there, all right? So number 1, let's do angle 1 and angle 4. Write down what those are. Number 2, angle 1 and angle 8. Number 3, angle 1 and angle 5, and so on. All right, so angle 1 and angle 4 are vertical angles. Okay? Number 2, angle 1 and angle 8 are alternate exterior angles. All right, number 3, angle 1 and angle 5 are corresponding. Angle 1 and angle 3 are a linear pair. Angle 3 and angle 6 are alternate interior angles. Angle 3 and angle 5 are consecutive interior angles. Let's do it again. All right. So now, let's draw this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Number 1. Angle 3 and angle 5. 2 is angle 2 and angle 6. Angle 4 and angle 8. Angle 7 and angle 2. Angle 5 and angle 6. And angle 6 and angle 7. Pause and answer all those. 3 and 5 are on the same side of the transversal. So it's either corresponding or consecutive. So angle 3 is obtuse, angle 5 is acute. Two acute angles do not add up to 180. That means they'd be equal. Two obtuse angles do not add up to 180. They would have to be equal. But you have an acute and an obtuse angle. So in this setting, the only answer that it could be is this is the part that adds up to 180. If you have an acute angle and an obtuse angle, it adds up to 180. If you have parallel lines, okay, and that's what we're really talking about. So that means consecutive, and consecutive is the only, possibility for supplementary angles, acute and obtuse. All right. So now let's go on to angle 2 and angle 6. Angle 2 and angle 6, if you notice, this is obtuse. And angle 2 is obtuse. Again, you can't have two obtuse angles adding up to 180. Does that make sense? Think of an obtuse angle. 91 degrees. Anything over 90 degrees is obtuse, right? So 91 would be the first one. The smallest obtuse angle, 91 degrees. 91 and 91 is 182. So you can't have two obtuse angles that add up to 180. So I'm just trying to get you to realize the only words possible are your corresponding, consecutive, alternate interior, alternate exterior. Those four, when we're dealing with something like this. And the only ones that add up to 180, the only one that adds up to 180 is consecutive. And since they're on the same side of the transversal, so this is how you think about it. Oops. Same side of the transversal. This is all about the transversal. This is what we talked about yesterday. Same side of the transversal, that's either corresponding, which is equal, or it's consecutive. And that means they add up to 180. If it's on alternate sides, then it's either alternate interior or alternate exterior. And those are both equal as well. So all you're really looking forward to is to understand if they're equal or if they're consecutive. Okay, so you have two possibilities to choose from when you start the problem. You should be looking at the transversal every time. So angles 2 and 6 are on the same side of the transversal. So it's either corresponding or consecutive. So since they're both obtuse, they have to be the same values. So this is corresponding. Number 3, 4 and 8. If you look at that, 4 and 8, they're both acute angles. They're in the same positions. That's corresponding. On the same side of the transversal. Number 4, 7 and 2 are, look at your transversal, 7 and 2, they're on opposite sides of the transversal. So that means alternating. So right off the bat, they're equal. Now which ones are they? They're on the outside of the two lines, so that's exterior. Alternate exterior angles. 5 and 6, they're on alternate sides of the transversal, except they're at the exact same intersection. So in order to use those four words, they have to be at separate intersections. So it's either vertical or linear at this point. So since they form a straight line, that's linear. 6 and 7, they're at the same intersection. Again, either linear or vertical. So those would be vertical. So let's just talk about that for a second. How many people got number 6 correct? Okay. How many people got number 5 correct? All right. And lastly, how many people got all 6 correct? Okay, so we jumped up. We doubled everybody. All right. Last chance. Let's do it again. Oops. So number 1, angle 2 and angle 3 are vertical angles. Okay? Number 2, angle 3 and angle 6. Look at your transversal. They're on opposite sides of the transversal, so it's alternate. They're both interior, so it's alternate interior angles. Number 3, 8 and 2. Look at your transversal. 8 and 2 are on the same side of the transversal. So now the question is, are they corresponding or are they consecutive? Or is it neither? Okay, so 2 and 8 are consecutive exterior angles. Now, we've not had a theorem for that. We've mentioned this 2 or 3 times throughout the chapter, okay? And I told you that consecutive interior angles and consecutive exterior angles will do the exact same thing. They will add up to 180 degrees. I've not done the test. I doubt that consecutive exterior angles are on the test, but make sure from this point on that you understand that. But what did I say about the transversal? I said if you are on the same side of the transversal, they're either equal or they add up to 180. So you have an acute angle and an obtuse angle, which means they have to add up to 180 if the 2 lines are parallel. So that means consecutive. All right. The only time that you're going to have something that's neither is if you use something like 8 and 3. They're not related in any way. Okay? So one's interior, one's exterior, and they're alternating. So there's not a theorem for that. Okay? We're not going to try to trick you like that on the test. All right? Of course, I haven't taken the test, but we'll see Thursday when we go through it. Angle 7 and angle 1, same thing. You have an obtuse angle and an acute angle. So that's consecutive exterior. Angle 4 and angle 6 on the same side of the transversal. You have an interior angle, or excuse me, an acute angle and an obtuse angle. Angle 4 is acute, angle 6 is obtuse. That's consecutive interior. Angle 5 and angle 1, same side of the transversal. Angle 5 is acute. Angle 1 is acute. If they're both the same types, then they have to be equal, and that's corresponding. Remember, corresponding and consecutive are on the same side of the transversal, the 2 C's, and the 2 A's are alternating. Alternate interior and alternate exterior. Yes?
If there is one of the consecutive interior questions on the test and we don't write, or the exterior, if we don't write exterior, is it wrong?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I mean, if what's going to happen on the test is basically it's going to be an algebra problem or what that I'm going to get to it. Okay? But it starts out like this where you're having to answer what each one is. Okay. All right. Now, I assume nobody got all 6 because of that consecutive exterior.
We did.
Okay, good. All right. But now you all got it, right? All right. This is the last time we're going to do this, and then we're moving on. So now you've reviewed. You kind of know what they are, gotten better. The first person that's done, just raise your hand. I just want to see how fast it takes. Like some of you are going to be done right after I finish writing it. Okay? So the first 2 or 3 people raise their hand. And then we're going to wait. Because I know some of you are still working at this, okay? All right, let's do this again. Because if you can't get this, you will not do well on the test. So we want to be bored with this. Your goal is to get bored because you know it so well. Number 1. or number 1. Angle 1 and 8 is alternate exterior angles. They're alternating. They're on opposite sides of the transversal. And they're both exterior. Number 2, 5 and 6, they're at the same intersection, so it can't be any of those 4 words. So 5 and 6 are a linear pair. 3 and 6, they're alternating around the transversal, so that's alternate. And they're both inside, so interior. 6 and 2, they're on the same side of the transversal. We have an acute angle at 6 and acute angle at 2. So they have to be the same. So that means corresponding. Remember, the only thing that's not equal is consecutive. That's what you got to remember when you're doing the degrees and the algebra stuff. Consecutive is the only one that adds up to 180. Everything else is equal. Linear pair is obviously adding up to 180. But of the 4 words, consecutive is the one that's different. Angle 7 and angle 6, those are vertical. Angle 5 and angle 4, they're alternating around the transversal, so alternate. And they're both inside, so interior. Okay, so who got number 5 correct? Who got number 2 correct? That's just outstanding. Okay, now, who got all 6 correct? Which one did you miss? Number 4. Ah, painful. All right, Liam. You were second. So, do you want a donut?
Yes.
Autumn! You could have a donut. You want a cinnamon or do you want normal glaze?
What were the options?
Cinnamon or normal glaze?
Ooh, I'll just have a glaze.
There you go. All right, it's time to move on. But this is how you should study, but you can't study if you don't know what the right answers are, right?
Thank you.
Okay, so now what you should do is go back over this and pause it and do it as if you're doing it new, okay? Because I'm going to do this in the other classes because there's going to be a million of these. So you can just fast forward, drag it to the spot where you can see what they're doing. We're going to do the exact same thing with them. All right, so we're going to go to the next part. Let's change the way we say it. So if you notice, the numbers are in the same spots. Just to make it easier, you can just draw it once. All right, number 1. So what is corresponding to angle 1? Number 2, what is an alternate interior angle to angle 4? Number 3, what is a consecutive exterior angle to angle 2? Number 4, consecutive interior angle to angle 3. Number 5, what is an alternate exterior angle to angle 8? Number 6, vertical to angle 5. And 7, linear pair to angle 4. Here we go. Corresponding angle to angle 1. Corresponding means same side of the transversal. It also means the exact same angle. So angle 1's acute. So you go to the other intersection and it's either 5 or 7. Well, 5's acute and 7's obtuse. So it has to be 5. Same position. Corresponding means same position. So 1 and angle 5. Alternate interior. Alternate means on opposite sides of the transversal. So if you're angle 4, the other one would be angle 5. They both have to be on the inside, so angle 5. Consecutive exterior angle to angle 2. Consecutive means same side of the transversal. Exterior means on the outside, so it has to be angle 8. I'm just curious, who got that one right? Oh, all right. Wow. Awesome. 4, consecutive to angle 3. Same side of the transversal has to be interior, so it has to be angle 5. Alternate, opposite sides of the transversal, and exterior to angle 8. So that has to be angle 1. 6, vertical to angle 5 is angle 8. And linear to angle 4 can either be angle 2 or angle 3. Either one of those would have been correct. So who got all 7 correct? Okay. Do we know what we missed and why we missed them? That's the important part. Do we know why we missed what you missed? Or just didn't get finished? Okay. All right, let's move on from there. Let's speed it up just a little bit. If this is 100 degrees, what is x? Write it down. I'm going to do a bunch of these. So 1, number 2. If this is 120 degrees, what is x? 3. If this is 80 degrees, what is x? 4. And if this one is 110 degrees, what is x? So, number 1 is alternate interior angles. They're equal. So, that's 100. The only thing that's not equal is linear pair and consecutive. Number 2, linear pair. So that's 60. Add up to 180. Number 3, alternating around the transversal. The second you see alternating, as long as they're the different intersections, then you should be writing the same. So alternate exterior angles, that's 80. Number 4, they're on the same side of the transversal, so they're either the same or they add up to 180. All right, so this is obtuse, that's obtuse. They have to be the same. They're in the same positions, corresponding. All right. How about a weird question? If this is 120 and this is 80, are they parallel? So first of all, can you prove they're parallel? So if that's 120, a linear pair makes this 60. Or you could do corresponding angles. This should be 120. But you don't know if they're parallel, so you can't say that that's 120 degrees. But you're trying to prove whether or not they are. So if they are parallel, then that is 120, and these two are a linear pair. Does that add up to 180? No. So that's how you can prove that they are not parallel. So there's a question on the test saying, are they parallel? Are they not necessarily parallel? So there is a way you now can decide if something's parallel. Okay? All right, we're going to stop there. So let's do something like this. Oops. And we'll say this is 2x plus 3, and this is x minus 9. All right, so find the value of x that makes these two lines parallel. So equal, you would set them equal to each other. 2x plus 3 equals x minus 9. Who did that? Awesome. So we subtract x. We get x plus 3 equals negative 9. Please do not drop the subtraction symbol, which I still have students doing that. It just becomes negative 9. And then subtract 3, x equals negative 12. That's what x would have to be for these two lines to be parallel. All right, next. All right, let's do something else. Let's do 15x minus 3. And how about negative 9x plus 5. So you should have set these equal. So 15x minus 3 is equal to negative 9x plus 5. Add 9x. That's 24x minus 3 equals 5. Add 3. 24x equals 8. Divide off the 24. And this is just algebra at this point. Hopefully you're good at your algebra. Let's do one more. Let's do what I was talking about a little bit ago. Let's do 8x minus 5 and negative 4x plus 7. Okay, so again, look at your transversal. They're on the same side of the transversal, so that means your C's, either corresponding or consecutive. Corresponding is in the same positions and equal. Consecutive means they add up to 180. Those two angles are not the same types of angles. One's obtuse. 8x minus 5 is obtuse. If they're equal, then the negative 4x plus 7 has to be obtuse. That's not an obtuse angle, that's an acute angle. So since they aren't the same, then that means they have to add up to 180. All right? So let's go ahead and add them together. So you should have written it like this. 8x minus 5 plus negative 4x plus 7 equals 180. They're on the same side of the equal sign. So 8x and negative 4x just go together. So that's 4x. And a negative 5, or a minus 5 and a plus 7, that's plus 2. So who got to that step and got that far? Okay. Now we just do your algebra. Whatever that is. 1844.5?
Yeah.
Okay. So are the lines parallel or perpendicular? I should say parallel, perpendicular, or neither? Question mark. Parallel, perpendicular, or neither? All right, so let's start with something simple. Write down your answer. Here's what you need to know. If it's in, you have to know slope to understand if something's parallel or perpendicular. So these are in slope-intercept form. All you need is the m. So that answer would be 6 and 6. So since they have the same slope, then this is parallel. Okay? All right, next one. Same type of problem. Y equals 5x minus 3, and y equals 1/5 x minus 1. So doesn't one have to be negative? Yes. One has to be positive, one has to be negative. So the fact that they're both positive, you don't even need to think about what the slope is. So this is a neither answer. Okay? Who got that one correct, by the way? All right. Here we go, another one. Should be done because all you're doing is looking at your slopes. So 2/3 and -3. Well, one's positive and one is negative, but they're not reciprocals of each other. So again, this is neither. All right. How about this one? So this is a good review. We have 3 days for this. We got lucky. So this is a good thing. All right. This is how you do this at home, but you got to figure out, you got to be getting all the right answers. So again, you look at your slope. This is 1/7, and this is -7/1. They are opposite signs, and they are reciprocals of each other. So this is perpendicular. They are perpendicular to each other. All right. Now it's time to do a little work. 2x minus 5y equals 1. 1/2 x plus y equals -3. Let me put a negative on the -1/2 x plus y equals -3. All right, so if you said your slope is 2 and -1/2, and then you say, oh, those are negative reciprocals of each other, that's obviously perpendicular. You just missed the problem. Those are not your slopes because they are not in slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form means you have to have y by itself. So you have to move these across the equal sign. So subtract 2x. Do not drop the subtraction sign. That becomes -5y, -2x plus 1. Divide off the -5. You get y equals -2/5 x minus 1/5, or plus -1/5. So that slope is -2/5. So now do that to the next problem and answer. Are you confused with what we did on the left here?
Yeah.
Okay. In order to understand parallel and perpendicular, you have to know slope. So in an equation, the only way to get slope is either graph it and figure out rise over run, or put it in slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form, again, is y equals mx plus b. Slope-intercept form means get y by itself so that you can get what m is. That's your slope. So that's what we did in the first equation. So immediately in the second equation, solve for y.
But why do we put like the perpendicular sign
Up here,
Yeah.
I was saying what some students already did. They assumed that the slope was 2, and in reality, it's -2/5. I was pointing out a typical mistake. So on this one, we're going to add 1/2 x. And we just solve for y. That's all you had to do in the second equation. So that slope is 1/2. So you have -2/5 and a positive 1/2. Those are definitely opposite signs, but they are not reciprocals of each other. So this is a neither. Okay? Okay. I want the equation of a line that is parallel to y equals 2x minus 3 that goes through the point -1, 5. So in order to do this type of problem, again, you're wanting a parallel line. So that means whatever equation they give you, it needs to be in slope-intercept form, which is what we've been talking about. So what's the slope of that line? 2. So the slope of this line is 2. That's the only reason that equation is in the problem. I don't care about the -3. Who cares? Doesn't mean anything. Okay? I only want its slope. Now, am I going to use that slope, or am I going to use a perpendicular slope? That slope, because parallel means they have to be the same, right? The slope of this floor is the same as the slope of the floor upstairs, hopefully. All right? So they better be the same slopes. So right off the bat, I know what my slope is of my new equation. That's the first thing you have to do, is get your slope. Now, I gave you all those steps in your notes, but in reality, it's just 2 steps. Get your slope, and then find your intercept. So we found our slope. Now, how do we find B? You remember what we said there? People who are struggling, not the people who have any problems. Okay, that point is on my line. It is not on this line. Of course, I made it up. Hopefully it's not on that line. So this goes in for x and y. You got to substitute that into your equation. That's the second step. First step, find your slope. Second step, substitute your values. That's it. That's all you have to do. Okay, so 5 goes here. -1 is there. And now everybody finish it, please. 5 equals -2 plus b.
It's too easy.
Add 2. 7 equals b. Don't stop there, please. That's great, you found the intercept. Please write the equation. It's asking for the equation that's parallel to the equation they gave you. So your answer, your final answer should be an equation. Y equals 2x plus 7. All right, so notice that your slopes are the same, but your intercepts are different, that's how it should be. Now your turn. I want the equation of line perpendicular to this line. 2x plus 3y equals 6. Perpendicular to that line and going through this point, 0, 5. So we're going to subtract 2x, and then we're going to divide off the 3. And we get y equals -2/3 x plus 2. I don't care about anything but that right there for this type of problem and most of the things that we do with this concept, okay? So now what am I looking for? Parallel or perpendicular? Okay, so if this slope is -2/3, what's my perpendicular slope? 3, positive 3/2. They have to be opposite signs and then the reciprocals. So yeah, there's a lot into finding slope. But you all can do this, can't you? No, we're not done. That was the first thing. Slope has everything to do with what we're doing. That's step 1. So y equals 3/2 x plus b. So the second step is you're going to substitute that information. Why'd they give you that information? Okay, so everybody can substitute and solve from here, right? Yes or no? Yes? Okay. I don't need to, and neither do you. Where is 0, 5 on your graph? It's on the y-axis, isn't it? Well, isn't that your y-intercept? So B is 5. But just to show you, and for practice, if I plug 5 in for y, and 3/2 times 0, look at what happens. 3/2 times 0 is gone. It says 0 plus b, which is just b. Yeah.
Kind of didn't have to do the first part.
Right.
So,
Well, you have to get the slope. If you knew how to get the slope, I mean, you could do it quickly in your head, but not everybody can do that, okay? I mean, yeah, I think the top students probably could do this problem in 5 seconds in their head. Only because of the intercept was actually given. I was telling Brady, I've seen this on SATs, on standardized tests, where they deliberately give you the intercept, assuming that most of you are going to do all this work and you don't need to. Yeah. Problem, y equals 3/2 x plus 5. That's the perpendicular line. And guys, you can always graph and figure stuff out. There's nothing that says you can't graph, even though it says that it doesn't say to graph. You can still graph if you need to. Sometimes that'll save you. All right, let's move on. Here's your practice. We're going to do one set of these. I'll write 6 or 7 problems on here. You answer them as fast as you can. Yeah, how are they related to each other? Out of the 4 words, plus vertical angles and linear pairs, stuff like that. Okay? If you have to help each other, you're not ready. All right, 1 and 4 are vertical angles. Who got it right? Okay. 3 and 5, they're on the same side of the transversal. Okay, first of all, number 1 and 4 are at the same intersection. If you're at the same intersection, don't use the 4 words that we've been working on. Those 4 words are only from one intersection to another intersection. All right. So number 2, 3 and 5, they're on the same side of the transversal. Same side means the C's, corresponding or consecutive. So if you're unsure on the test, look to see if they're acute and obtuse. So 3 is obtuse and 5 is acute. They're different. So if they're different, then that means they're consecutive. They add up to 180. So you say consecutive. That's the only one that adds up to 180. You still need to know the words. 2 and 6, they're on the same side of the transversal. So again, consecutive or corresponding. Angle 2 is obtuse. Angle 6 is obtuse. Well, 2 obtuse angles are more than 180 degrees. So quickly, that's corresponding. 6 and 3 are alternate interior. 5 and 6 are a linear pair. 7 and 2 are alternate exterior angles.
Just do it. On to Mr. Lockwood.
Number 1, give me the name for these problems, please. These angles. How they're related to each other. So I'm going to give you 6 or 7 of these. Just answer them, and we'll see how we're doing, okay? Angle 1 and angle 8. Angle 2 and angle 3. Angle 6 and angle 3. Angle 7 and angle 3. Angle 6 and angle 8. Angle 7 and angle 2. Angle 1 and angle 8. Look at your transversal. They're on opposite sides of the transversal, which we talked about yesterday, so it's alternating. And alternating, whether they're interior or exterior, are always equal. Okay, so that's alternate and they're exterior. Number 2, or angle 2 and angle 3 are vertical. Raise your hand if you got that right.
I didn't know if we could put that, but I knew that.
Yeah, that'd be the only answer. So linear pairs and vertical angles are all at the same intersection. Angle 6 and angle 3, again, look at your transversal. They're alternating.
Just call it verticals? Like vertical?
Huh?
Like just put vertical?
Oh, for number 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, vertical angles. Vertical's fine. Okay. 6 and 3 are alternate interior angles. 7 and 3, corresponding angles. Why? They're on the same side of the transversal. So same side means your C's, either consecutive or corresponding. And if you look at them, angle 3 is obtuse, angle 7 is obtuse. So if they're both the same, then they have to be the same angle, so it's corresponding.
Why isn't the other one consecutive?
Consecutive means one's acute and one's obtuse. Consecutive means they have to add up to 180. Two obtuse angles they add up past 180.
Oh, so they're on the same
side.
of a line. On
So,
the same side.
again, like yesterday, same side is corresponding or consecutive. Say corresponding is either two acute angles
See, but isn't corresponding
or
when
two
they're-
obtuse angles.
Isn't corresponding when they're on the same side of the transversal?
Yeah, same side, corresponding.
But
And
they
so it's
also-
consecutive.
But so how do you know if it's consecutive?
Okay, consecutive has an acute and an obtuse angle. It can't be the same. Two acute angles won't add up to 180, and two obtuse angles add up past 180.
How would it be acute and obtuse though? So like,
Well, if you have a 60-degree angle, the other one has to be 120.
okay.
So like on, we don't have one on here yet. So if I said number 7, angle 4, and angle 6, those are consecutive. They're on the same side of the transversal. Angle 6 is obtuse, and angle 4 is acute. So if angle 6 is 120 degrees,
4 and 6. Oh.
angle 4 has to be 60 degrees.
Okay. That makes sense.
All right. So 6 and 8, that's a linear pair. Again, you're at the same intersection. So it's either linear or it's vertical if you're at the same intersection. Angle 7 and angle 2 are alternating around the transversal. So they're equal, and they're both on the outside of the two lines.
So if they're on top of each other on the same side, then it's linear, but if they're diagonal from each other, then it's vertical. Yeah.
So name the two angles you just said, the first one. If they're on top of each other, which
So
one?
like 6 and 8 are linear, but 2 and 3 aren't because it's diagonal.
Right, they'd
So
be
that's how you
vertical.
tell the difference.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Wait, why wouldn't a 5 be consecutive?
5 with what?
Like number 5.
Oh, 6 and 8. Consecutive means that they're going to add up to 180, and yes, 6 and 8 add up to 180. But if you're going to use those four words, consecutive and corresponding, alternate interior and alternate exterior, if you're going to use those four words, the angles have to be from one intersection to the other intersection. So 6 and 8 are at the same intersection point. So the only possibilities there are linear or vertical. You wouldn't put consecutive there, even though that means that they add up to 180. Okay, the proper word would be a linear pair, because linear means they add up to 180 as well.
Give an example that would be consecutive.
Yeah, number 7 is 4 and 6. And 3 and 5 are consecutive. And
So it's 2 and 8.
2 and 8 are consecutive exterior angles. We haven't had a theorem for that, but I've mentioned that a couple times already. And you are supposed to know it because I've talked about it. So 2 and 8 are on the same side. So they're either corresponding or consecutive. So you look at 2 and 8. Angle 2 is obtuse. Angle 8 is acute. Again, if they're not the same, then they have to add up to 180. If you have parallel lines, and that's what this is all about. The majority of things in life are parallel and perpendicular. Usually you don't have something that's not either one of those. Okay, now we're going to do this exact same thing again and see if you got better at it, okay? You can use the same numbers. It's going to be in the same order, or you can just draw it.
Oh, wait, I forgot.
Okay? Do you need something?
No, it's fine.
Okay. All right, so answer all these. Angle 1 and angle 4. 2 is angle 7 and angle 3. Angle 5 and angle 4. That's not very good 4. 4 is angle 2 and angle 7. Angle 4 and angle 8. Angle 3 and angle 4. Angle 5 and angle 8. Okay, number 1. Angle 1 and angle 4, they're at the same intersection. So it's either vertical or linear. So those are vertical. Number 2. Angle 7 and angle 3, they're on the same side of the transversal. So it's either corresponding or consecutive. They're in the same positions, they're corresponding. They're both acute angles. Number 3, angle 5 and angle 4, they're on alternate sides of the transversal. So automatically, it's either alternate interior or alternate exterior. And they're both on the inside. Good. Number 4, angle 2 and angle 7. Again, they're alternating, so alternate, and they're on the outside. Good, exterior. 4 and 8, they're on the same side, so either corresponding and consecutive. They're corresponding. All right, so we're getting much better. So hopefully we get to the point where you're bored because it's easy. That's how you should be before you come to the test on Thursday. Number 6, 3 and 4. They're at the same intersection, so it's either vertical or linear. So if you didn't know linear, but you knew what vertical angles was, that should have been a process of elimination.
So vertical's like
Across from each other. Yeah, so 1 and 4 are vertical, 2 and 3 are vertical,
yeah, okay.
5 and 8 are vertical, 6 and 7 are vertical. 5 and 8, there you go, vertical. Who got all 7 correct? And so there's, out of 26 questions on the 3 and 4, they form a straight line. Linear means line. And they have to be adjacent. So angle 3 and 4 are linear, and so is angle 3 and angle 1.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So those are a linear pair. Angle 5 and angle 6 are a linear pair. Angle 5 and angle 7 are a linear pair. Angle 8 and angle 7 are a linear pair. Angle 8 and angle 4.
Because, yeah, we need to just...
They have to be attached, meaning adjacent, and they have to form a straight line.
Okay, that makes sense.
So as opposed to something like this, if I said angle 1 and angle 2, angle 1 and angle 2, they form a straight line, but they aren't attached. They have to share a side. They share a vertex, but they don't share a side. So those would not be called linear or vertical. They're neither. Okay?
What would they be, though? Like, what could they kind
There's not a name for that. And you couldn't solve unless you knew the missing angle and something else. Here we go. Number 1, corresponding to angle 2. Number 2, alternate interior to angle 3. Number 3, alternate exterior to angle 2. Number 4, vertical to angle 8. Number 5, linear to angle 3. Number 6, consecutive. Interior to angle 5. Consecutive exterior to angle 8. Number 1, corresponding angle 2 is angle 6. Good. Next.
Angle 6.
Alternate interior to angle 3 is angle 6. Good.
Angle 7.
Exterior to angle 2 is angle 7. Good.
Angle 5.
Vertical to angle 8 is angle 5. Number 5.
Angle 4.
Linear to angle 3 is angle 4. Or you could have said angle 1. Either one is correct. Number 6.
Angle 3.
Consecutive interior with 5 is angle 3. And number 7.
Angle
Consecutive exterior with angle 8 is angle 2. Good job. Four quick problems here. Number 2, let's see here. Solve all those, please. Number 1, they're on the same side of the transversal, so it's either consecutive or corresponding. One's obtuse and one's acute, so obviously that means consecutive. So they have to add up to 180. So that means x is 60. Number 2, they're on the same side of the transversal. They're both exterior. One's acute and one's obtuse. Again, if they're different, that means they have to add up to 180. So x is 100. Number 3, they're on the same side of the transversal. Both of them are acute angles. So that means they're the same. So x is 70. Corresponding angles. Everything's equal except for consecutive and linear. Number 4, they're linear. They make a straight line. They're connected by a side. One's acute and one's obtuse. So that's 50. Who got all 4 correct? Okay. Struggling. Let's do it again.
Wait,
Let's do this. Y equals 6x plus 3 and y equals 6x minus 2. Are they parallel, perpendicular, or neither? First thing you do always is make sure your equations are in slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. Because all you're interested in is the slope. Well, they're both solved for y, so they're in slope-intercept form. That's 6 and that's 6, so these are parallel. All right, y equals 3 halves x minus 2, and y equals 2/3 x plus 5. Parallel, perpendicular, or neither? Okay, that slope is 3 halves. This slope is 2/3. This is neither. If you're going to say perpendicular, one has to be positive and the other one has to be negative. And reciprocals. These are reciprocal, but they're both positive. Okay, last one. Are the bells? Okay. So again, understanding these words, what they mean. So corresponding to angle 1, corresponding means same side of the transversal. So you have 2 C's and 2 A's. Corresponding and consecutive, both start with C. The 2 A's are alternate interior and alternate exterior angles. So you either are on the same side of the transversal or you're alternating. So same side means corresponding or consecutive. Alternating means alternate interior or alternate exterior. That's how you start with those 4 terms. The only one that's not equal is consecutive out of those four terms. So corresponding means same side of the transversal. So angle 1 is corresponding with 5 and, on the same side of the transversal is 5 and 7. Notice I didn't include 3 because 3 is at the same intersection. So to use these four words, you have to go from one intersection to the other intersection. So corresponding means same position. Now here's the trick of all four of these words. If they're equal, then that means they're both acute or they're both obtuse. You can't have an acute angle being equal to an obtuse angle, right? So if you have an acute and an obtuse angle, that means they must be supplementary, adding up to 180. The only one that's like that is consecutive. So if you look at angle 1 and angle 5, angle 1's acute, angle 5's acute. Angle 7 is obtuse. So consecutive is the only one that is different, acute and obtuse. So angle 5 and angle 1 are both acute angles. They're the same, so that's corresponding. So angle 5 should have been the answer. Alternate, right off the bat, you're looking for the other side of the transversal. So angle 3. So you have to go from one intersection to the other intersection. So that's either 6 and 8, but they both have to be on the inside. So 6 and 3 are on the inside, and they're alternating. So angle 6 goes with that one. And here you have the word number 3, consecutive. That means one has to be acute and one has to be obtuse. So interior means they're both on the inside. And again, it's a C word, so they have to be on the same side of the transversal. So consecutive with angle 4 has to be either 6 or 8. So since it's interior, it has to be 6. And those would both add up to 180. Angle 4 is acute and angle 6 is obtuse. Notice that's what they have to be if they're consecutive. Number 4, alternate exterior. Alternate, again, they're equal, and they have to be on the outside of the line. Alternate meaning on the opposite sides of the transversal. Angle 2 is on the right side, so it's either 5 or 7, and they both have to be exterior, so it has to be 7. Are you catching on to what I'm saying? Talking to the people who have struggled. I'm not talking to the people who understand what's going on. Consecutive, again, one has to be acute and one has to be obtuse. So angle 8. Now this one we haven't had as a theorem, but I'm giving it to you anyway. We've talked about it a couple times. So consecutive means same side of the transversal. So angle 8 has to go with either angle 2 and angle 4. So if it's exterior, then that's angle 2. And so notice angle 2 is obtuse and angle 8 is acute. Number 6, vertical and linear. 6 and 7, vertical and linear. Those are the only ones that have to be at the exact same intersection. So the 4 normal words that we've been dealing with are the ones that go from one intersection to another intersection. If you're at the same intersection, then you say vertical or linear. So if you start out saying it's vertical, you better give me 2 angles that are at the same intersection. So angle 3 is paired with angle 2. Who got that one right, number 6? Okay, I think everybody's pretty good with vertical angles. Linear pair, again, has to be at the same intersection. So angle 3 is a linear pair with either angle 1 or angle 4. A linear pair has to share a side and make a straight line. So just to make sure we got this, if we give you that example at the bottom there, 1 and 3 make a straight line, but they don't share a side. They share a vertex, but they don't share a side. So 1 and 3 would not be linear in that respect. There's not a linear pair in that example. Okay, it has to be something like this. 1 and 2 are a linear pair. They share a side. Got it? All right, here's your test. Ready? Number 1. Give me the words that explain what these two angles, how they're related. Angle 1 and angle 4. All right, here we go. Angle 1 and angle 4 are vertical angles. Okay? Angle 2 and angle 6, they're on the same side of the transversal, so either consecutive or corresponding. So angle 2 is obtuse, angle 6 is obtuse. Corresponding. Angle 3 and angle 6 are both on the inside of the lines, and they're alternating around the transversal. So that's alternate interior angles. Number 4 is 7 and 2. They're alternating, so right off the bat, you should write alternate. And both of them are on the exterior of the two lines. And number 5, 8, and 6 are at the exact same intersection, so you're looking at either vertical or linear. So you have linear. Number 6 is 7 and 3. They're both on the same side, so again, it's either consecutive or corresponding. 7 is obtuse, 3 is obtuse, so that means corresponding. They're equal, they're in the same positions. Number 7 is 5 and 6. That's a linear pair. And number 8, 1 and 7, they're on the same side, so it's either consecutive or corresponding. Number 1 is acute, number 7 is obtuse, so that means consecutive, and that's the special one. They're both outside, so consecutive exterior angles.
I got all of them right.
Who got them all right?
I only got one wrong.
Number 1.
Oh, we're doing one?
Oh, you think we're done?
No.
This is 2x, and this is 88. Find x. This is 5x plus 2, and this is negative 10x minus 8. Find x. Number 3 is 2x minus 5 and 3x plus 11. And number 4 is 15x minus 8, and that is 7x plus 56. Solve for x. Okay, number 1, the two angles are on the same side of the transversals, so they're either corresponding or consecutive. So it's hard to see, but 2x is acute and 88 is obviously acute. They're in the same position, so that means corresponding, so that means they're equal. So 2x equals 88, divide off the 2, x is 44. Who got it right? Okay, smarty pants. Number 2, they're both on the same side of the transversal. They're both acute angles. That means they have to be equal. So you say 5x plus 2 is equal to negative 10x minus 8. So we're going to add 10x. Don't forget, don't drop that minus sign on the 8. It becomes a negative 8. Subtract 2. So 15x equals negative 10. Divide off the 15. And x equals, you reduce it by 5, you get negative 2 2/3. All right, correct it and make it right. Number 3.
Wrote down the wrong problem.
Number 3. They're both on the same side of transversal, so they're either corresponding or they're consecutive. One is obtuse. The 2x minus 5 is obtuse, and the 3x plus 11 is acute. So since they're both different, that means they have to add up to 180. So 2x minus 5 plus 3x plus 11 has to equal 180. So we put these together, that's 5x, and a negative 5 and an 11, that makes plus 6. Subtract 6, we get 174, divided by 5, whatever that is, okay? So hopefully on the test those are all nice and neat. I just made these up, so. Number 4, they're alternating, so right off the bat you don't need to think of anything else. They just set them equal to each other. Alternate interior angles and alternate exterior angles are equal. So 15x minus 8 is equal to 7x plus 56. So subtract 7x, add 8, and divide off 8. X equals 8. All right, then let's see if you learned your lesson.
What? Really? Those lines though.
They're perfectly drawn.
I cannot see what's under that.
Let me redo that.
Is that
What's number 3?
I'm working on it.
Okay.
All right, you should be done. Number 1, they are on alternate sides of the transversal. You should not have to think about it. All alternating angles are equal, so that's 120. Number 2, they're alternating, so that's 80. Number 3, they're on the same side, so they're either equal or they're supplementary. Both of those are acute, so if they're both the same type of angle, they're equal. So this is 70. Those are corresponding angles. Number 4, one is acute and one is obtuse. So that's consecutive. That means that they add up to 180, so x is 30. Who got all 4 of those correct?
I knew it was different.
Okay, here we go.
I knew something was
We both got it wrong.
Are these parallel, perpendicular, or neither? Y equals 6x minus 3 and y equals 6x plus 5. Y equals mx plus b. You're looking for the slope. So since y is solved for both of those, they're both in slope-intercept form. So the slope is 6. So these are parallel. All right. How about this one? Y equals 2/3 x plus 6 and y equals 3/2 x minus 5. So your answer should be neither.
What?
Your slope is 2/3 and 3/2. Here's y. 1/5 x minus 6 and y equals negative 5x plus 1. Parallel, perpendicular, or neither. Okay, so your slope here is 1/5. Your slope here is negative 5. Those are perpendicular. One has to be positive, one has to be negative, and they have to be reciprocals of each other. So there's 2 things. All right, so having said that, are the next ones parallel, perpendicular, or neither? 2x plus 5, y equals 1, and negative 3x plus 5y equals negative 2. So you have to know the slopes to understand parallel or perpendicular. So you have to stop. You have to solve both equations for y because slope is the most important thing. You have to understand slope. So we need to subtract 2x and divide off the 5. And the only thing we care about is that part right there. So that's negative 2/5. That's the slope of that line. Add 3x to the right side. Divide off the 5. And again, we're only caring about that part right there. That's 3/5. One's positive and one is negative, but they are not reciprocals of each other.
Wait. Did I get that right? I did get that right. Oh, but I didn't say neither.
Okay. So 2x plus y equals 3. And 3x plus y, let's hold on a second. Negative 6x plus 3y equals 5. Okay, so the first thing you should do is solve for y. Oops. So y equals negative 2x plus 3. So the slope is negative 2 over 1. Add 6x. Divide off the 3. Y equals 2x plus 5/3. So that slope is 2 over 1. Neither.
Neither. I should have known it's
Why is it wrong?
because
The numbers aren't switched correctly.
Right, they have to be reciprocals.
Yes.
Good. All right. I want you to write the equation of a line that's parallel to this line.
it's gonna be on the test.
No, none of these are going to be on the test. Going through the point 6, 4. All right. So you need two things to write an equation. You need slope and you need the intercept.
Yes.
Okay? And the only reason that you have this equation is you need the slope. It's already in slope-intercept form, so the slope is going to be 2. Now, we want parallel or perpendicular.
Are you kidding?
You want parallel. It's asking for parallel. So slopes are the same if they're parallel. So your slope is 2. Parallel slope is 2. It's the same. So what you need is to fill in the blanks for writing an equation. So y equals 2x plus b. How do we find b? By substituting x and y into the correct positions. 4 is y, x is 6, and then you solve. 4 equals 12 plus b, subtract 12, you get negative 8. You have to rewrite the equation. Y equals 2x minus 8. Parallel to that line. I want the equation of a line perpendicular to this equation. 2x plus 3y equals 8. Going through this point, 0, 6. So again, what you need is the slope from this line. Subtract the 2x and divide by the 3. And again, you don't need anything else from this equation other than that right there. So the slope is negative 2/3, but you don't want negative 2/3. What do you want? You want the perpendicular slope, which is what? Positive. 3 over 2. Has to be the opposite sign. All right, so now you start your equation. Y equals 3/2 x plus 6. You're done. What? Why didn't I substitute 0 and 6?
You're not asking me. 0 and 6.
Yeah, I should have substituted 0 and 6. Why didn't I?
Did you not substitute the 6?
Uh-uh. Why not? Anybody see why? Where is 0, 6 on your graph?
Oh, no.
The y-axis. So isn't that my y-intercept? Okay, so I didn't need to substitute it. Watch what happens when I substitute it anyway. So that's the next step. All right, so 6 is y, and x is 0. What's 0 times anything?
0.
Sorry, this is a b here. So that's 0, so b equals 6.
Well, that's what I did, but
Yeah, I'm just saying, pay attention because I see this in other types of tests.